Hi, welcome to the channel. In my last video, I talked about creating like a brainstorm or brainstorming for a fashion collection. I'm currently working on my debut fashion collection, and the easiest way for me to get started was to brainstorm around the concept I had, which is my country, Nigeria. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about editing that brainstorm. I have edited my brainstorm and I'm here to share how that works, how that goes, and how you can do that for your own fashion collection or creative project. So when I was brainstorming for my fashion collection, I had so many reference images. I think altogether, by the time I started my editing, I was working with 182 or 183 reference images and so many words and prompts that I've written in my notes app on my phone. So that's a lot of material to work with, and that's going to happen if you are brainstorming for any creative project. It doesn't even have to be fashion. So what I find to be the best way to begin editing is to find one filter. I always like using one thing because it just makes narrowing down really, really easy. You are likely going to be, I'm sure if if you've taken more time or you have more reference images, you're probably going to be working with over 200 or 300 images. Like I said, with the brainstorm, you don't want to restrict yourself. You don't want to edit yourself. You want to gather as much references as you can. Now it's time to edit, and you're going to have to distill that into like a really, really small number. So what I found was to find a filter that I could begin editing the brainstorm against. I'm going to use an example before I come to my collection. Let's say your collection it's inspired by say punk, right? You've gathered all the images about punk, anything about punk you can find. Something you can do is to think about your niche. What niche are you serving? If you are a bridal wear designer, it's very, very easy to just use that bridal lens and filter your brainstorm. So you would then be going to pick images that lean into that bridal vibe or fits more with a bridal style or will go well with a bridal style. You're going to have to exercise your judgments here. So when it came to my own fashion collection and editing my brainstorm, I discovered in the research phase that a lot of the images I had gathered cut across cultures. So they were not really specific to Nigeria. And I was really shocked at so many things. For example, the kakaki is a kind of trumpet we use in northern Nigeria. I found out that it's also used in Chad. We've got this really, really cool raffia mats that raffia mats and raffia like hand fans. I found out in my research that it's not just West Africa it's used in. Someone from Yemen said they do have it in Yemen. Someone from Somalia was like they have something similar in Somalia. Same thing with clay pot, same thing with basket. We like so many things cut across West Africa and even going to different cultures. So what I did, and I think this was something that really helped me, was to now say, okay, whatever I'm going to pick and whatever I'm going to take out of this brainstorm is something that is specific to Nigeria, kind of like quintessentially Nigeria. So for example, if you see the Agbada is not actually specific to Nigeria. If you go to Senegal, Senegalese men do wear Agbada or something similar to Agbada. But if you see an Agbada sewn in Ashoke, you know you're looking at a Yoruba man. That's kind of what I was doing. Similar to the downfall bosses you see in Lagos. Once you see a downfall boss, you are thinking Lagos. Very similar to the way you see like a yellow taxi and you're thinking New York in the United States. So when I was going through the board, I was beginning to think about things that are quintessentially Nigerian. So this is specific to Nigeria. That made it so easy for me to begin editing. And guys, I was brutal. There were so many things I liked, so many things I already had plans for. I had to cut them out. I'm a writer. I have a writing background. So something I've always learned from writing is kill your darlings. And I kind of like apply that with this editing, kind of like cutting my darlings. And whatever ideas I had that didn't match the filter, I had to drop it. And at this stage, you do have to be really, really brutal. Whether it's for your fashion collection or any creative project, once you find your filter, like I said, it can be a niche, it can be an idea, it can be so like something that really helps to narrow down what your project or your collection is all about. If it doesn't fit, take it out. It's going. To make it easy as well, too, it's always good to begin, once you begin to take your reference images and the ones that you've edited, to place them on another board. I like doing this digitally, and Canva was a good place for me to do this. Just begin to place them on a board. And at this point, I'm beginning to see something in the board. I'm beginning to see something forming in the board. What I will say, and the way I would go about this, and the way I would say you should go about this, is to let that first, I think of this board as a first draft. Okay, you're going towards creating your mood board. The mood board isn't ready yet, but you're going towards creating your mood board. When you create this board, which is like your first draft of your mood board, you may find that maybe a particular color is coming up, popping out to you, or there's a texture, or there's a silhouette, or there is a way light moves that will be becoming very, very obvious. I'll give an example with a mood board I did for a bridal wear project. When I did this mood board, when I did like the first drafts of the mood board, I remember seeing that a lot of the images I'd collected had something about light in them. So I knew the collection, whatever I was going to design, will be something that has to do with light and the way light reflects. And that was kind of like what that project was all about. If you look at that mood board, you can tell that it's bridal, and you can tell that light is a big part of that if you look at that mood board. So you begin to see like a common theme running at this point with this board. And I would say you should let that board guide you, because sometimes we come to creative projects with ideas, but I'm always a big fan of letting the creative process guide as well too. I mean, you come with your ideas, but you begin to see something fresh coming. Again, I'm a writer, so something that always happens when I'm writing my novels or short stories or even screenplays is I want to go somewhere else and the story is taking me somewhere else and I have to follow the story. Same thing with this board. You will begin to see a story forming, and it's a good idea to let the story take you to where it wants to take you. So now I've created my edit, and this is like my first draft on my mood board. In the next stage, it's now actually using this board to create my actual mood board. Now, it doesn't have to be one thing that you will see coming up on this board. You could see a combination of color and silhouette, or color and texture, or silhouette and texture. It doesn't have to be one thing, but ideally at this stage, you should actually be seeing something popping, something like a theme reoccurring, and that is actually what is going to guide you when creating mood board. So for me, what I'm saying is I'm beginning to see a specific color palette coming up. I don't know if you can see it with this board, but there is a specific color palette coming up, and that is what the foundation of my mood board is going to be sitting on. So in my next video, I'm going to be talking about mood boards, the entire process of sort of like summarizing what we have done, what I've done so far, and how to go ahead to create a mood board for a fashion collection. See you in my next video.